Hi, this is Nancy Love with another informative bit of information from hell, otherwise known as planet Earth. And I feel safer talking to you all about this and circulating this on the internet. I'm sharing this through social media. If you see this, I would appreciate it if you would share it because the more people know about what's happening here, the better. I'm in San Diego, California, and in San Diego and Los Angeles, probably Orange County, which is between the two, and elsewhere, there are well over 1,000 people involved in a criminal ring that is involved in human slavery. They are selling people whole, including children. They are uh, drugging and raping people and trafficking people while they're unconscious or otherwise cognitively compromised. And that means that the people might not be able to form memories normally or whatever. But they're also selling drugs like cocaine, heroin, and amphetamines. They're redistributing pharmaceuticals like OxyContin and Adderall. And they some of them are involved in devil worship. I hate to say it, I never believed in that kind of thing myself. I never paid any attention to it. I didn't know one darn thing about human trafficking, except it was somebody else's problem until it became mine when I accidentally overheard some jerk talking about knowing where some children are being enslaved at an encampment in Hawaii at a Christmas party in Los Angeles in 2006. So this has um, been a long haul and a painful one indeed, knowing so much now about human slavery that is occurring in the 21st century. Abraham Lincoln tried to free the slaves well over 100 years ago, but there are people that are being enslaved right now in the United States of America. And some of them were born here, and some of them were brought here. And then very vulnerable because they can't get back to where they came from, and they're not, they're strangers in a strange land here, and they don't have the resources or support system that a Native American, a Native born American can. So I'm kind of hard on the FBI here lately. I made a video last night that indicates that I'm real frustrated with them because what they do is they take years and years to do investigations in these sorts of crime rings, and that puts everybody at risk. It puts undercover agents at risk. Undercover agents have died while the FBI tries to figure out if they've got enough evidence gathered and enough criminals that they can round up all at once to make convictions stick and stay, as they call it. New victims are tortured, and people, while they're investigating these things for 3 or 4 years and looking at more than 1,000 people in a crime ring here just in Southern California. It probably reaches far beyond. I know it reaches into Mexico. I know it's reached into Afghanistan. Yeah, people who've been brought all the way from Afghanistan to be enslaved in America by this same group of people. Um, New victims, new people are victimized. And you would think that law enforcement would go after criminals and not want anybody else to be victimized, but their justification for this kind of what might seem like procrastination is that they want the entire ring, and if they only gather a few people that they know about or that have been informed on, or that somebody's been victimized, and reports it to the local police or federal group. Then, you know, they call it the vacuum effect. New criminals spring up in that same area, blah, blah, blah. Well, in point of fact, if you're one of the victims, you don't care about a 3-year investigation. You care about the fact that you've been assaulted. If they have threatened your children or your pets or your parents or your whatever, your siblings, your friends, sometimes they threaten property. It doesn't matter to you that they've got some big fancy comprehensive complex high dollar multi-agency task force and a bunch of people working on it. It matters to you that you yourself have been victimized and that you can't find your pets or your children are afraid or your parents have been targeted. 3 and 4 year long investigations don't matter to the victims that are tormented while those investigations go on. And there's approximately 85 FBI agents each year that die. There's a wall of honor at the FBI. And there's people who aren't alive anymore while all these investigations have gone on because they were made, their true identity or who they were really working for when they seemed to be somebody else was revealed. There are police officers who have been victimized. There are some really, really, really fine, courageous people that I love at the LA PD and the SGPD that I know of, and there's probably people, lined up in the halls of courage from here to there. But I know people personally, and I love them very dearly, and they say that they have stared down the barrels of guns to protect some of these people. And I know several people who've been assaulted who were uh, either detectives or police officers in local forces in Southern California. Some people who work at district attorney's offices have been threatened or physically assaulted by these people, and you'd think people like that would be safe, but they're not, because there is no alliance. There's not a clear, strong alliance of good. Who are they fighting? Organized crime. Well, organized law enforcement needs to be a concept as well. If law enforcement is fighting organized crime, first of all, it needs to winnow out those who have infiltrated law enforcement, because there are criminals in cop costumes. And it needs to get organized too. The courageous, those who believe in justice, those who believe in real freedom, those who believe in not letting people be victimized by crime. We need to organize ourselves around a concept of deep morality and great courage. Because the very, very first thing that criminals will do when they want to victimize you, whether you're a civilian or a member of law enforcement, is socially isolate you. They want you to feel very, very alone. The second thing they will do is try to discredit you. They will defame you. They will call you crazy. They will call you a liar. They will try to set you up and make you look like you're guilty of crimes. One of these semi-crooked cops in San Diego told me a while back that he hates what he's become. The guy was crying, and he said, it violated his religion and everything holy to him. But that when somebody tries to get crooked cops in trouble, the crooked cops try to make that person look guilty of everything that they're accusing people of. So uh, it's a real challenge to have any faith in America at this point. And I do, after the video I made yesterday challenging the FBI to screw its 3 to 4 year investigation and get something bleeping done. Get the victims, get the undercover agents, get the good law enforcement people on the local level out of harm's way now by arresting 300 or 400 criminals now. I do want to reiterate and assert that I have people in the FBI that I love very dearly. I have talked to some of them about marrying them. And one guy said that I talked to him several years ago, and he said he would marry me and just try to protect me, and we would build a fortress. And he said that in more than 3 decades on the force, he'd made a lot of really vicious enemies, and he was afraid to get involved with anyone, including but not limited to me, because he didn't want those enemies to become uh, those of his new spouse, and that he was afraid that anybody he became involved with at all would be targeted. And he was one of the most solitary, courageous, beautiful people I've ever known. And I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired of having a story so tragic and so bizarre and so extreme that people who don't know anything about it have a hard time believing it. But I'm telling you the truth. In 2006, at that Christmas party where I heard some drunk Sicilian jerk laughing about knowing where some children who had been stolen and kidnapped and purchased from their parents at gunpoint, he said, mostly from places like Vietnam and Cambodia, uh, Korea, Indonesia. Um, that person, ever since then, I've become an inadvertent expert on human trafficking. And the people who would drug and rape someone who would never prostitute himself or herself at all. So I'm not guilty of anything at all except having significantly more courage than the vast majority of people who hear about this and run in the other direction because it's too painful, it's too extreme, it's too nasty. When you start talking about the fact that some of these people are involved in devil worship and crap of that nature, and it is crap. Devil worshiping is crap. Talk about talking to the wrong God. Um, what has happened to me is that I've had my face smashed in, and I am now in a wheelchair. I've had spinal vertebra herniated. I've had torn ligaments and damaged muscles and damaged meniscuses and orthopedic and neurological issues in my lower body because these people, they just can't keep a hero down, though, can they? Because as long as I am still breathing, I'm going to be talking. I have one reason and only one reason left to live, and that is to see that justice gets done. They have socially isolated me, they've tried to defame me, they've said things about me that have never and could never possibly be true. They've taken what I love most on the planet, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get my family back. And when you tell the whole truth and nothing but, and people who want to come forward and try to help you hear what's happened to just me, just me, they become very afraid for their own loved ones and their own safety and well-being, and probably should. But it takes real heroism. It takes a true person of extreme and magnificent moral dignity to do the kinds of things I've done, and to try to help save people who would otherwise be enslaved and victimized and murdered. And I will say this, and I'll let you go, but there was a time several years ago when I had the unique opportunity and privilege to speak to one of the kids who was in that Hawaii encampment in 2006. He was all grown up, but he was uh, an adult, and he'd been to college, and he was married, and he had kids, and he was running a, a he was involved professionally in a helping profession. He's dedicated his life to helping other people because he felt so guilty that he survived that kind of childhood. And so every time I think about all that I've been through, I think that there are people alive because of me. Children have been born and exist because I helped save some kids not be torture victims and slaves in 2007. And my life has been an absolute form of hell ever since. And I will not tolerate any more defamation. I will not tolerate discrediting. I will not be socially isolated. What I will do is call for courageous civilians and people in the FBI, Interpol, the DEA, Homeland Security, San Diego Police Department, and you know who you are, Los Angeles Police Department, where I have many, many friends who love me, and vice versa very dearly. I am calling upon us now to ally and rise, because we are going to take back this world for the children and the innocent pets and our friends and siblings and parents and other people who are threatened and worse by these scum who are so greedy, so lazy, so stupid, so foul that they can't figure out a better way to earn a profit in this world than to sell your child. This is Nancy Love. I have that last name for a very good reason. More later. I'm not done yet. In fact, I'm just getting started here.